Welcome back to the deep dive. And I have to be honest with you right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Preparing for this conversation was physically uncomfortable for me. You know that feeling when you read about some medical diagnosis and you start ticking off every single symptom.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. That's me. I got that one.
Yes, I have that. Yes, I do that. Oh, God, that's me. That was my experience reading through this entire stack of research. We're staring into the abyss today, and I'm not going to lie to you, the abyss is scrolling right back at us.
It's scrolling back at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
We're tackling a topic that I think every single person listening feels in their bones, or maybe more accurately, feels in their thumbs. We are talking about brain rot.
It's such an evocative term, isn't it?
It is.
It sounds like internet slang, something teenagers might say to describe a bad meme or cringe video. But what we have in front of us today, based on this fascinating conversation between a social psychologist and a Harvard neuroscientist, is evidence that brain rot isn't just slang.
Right. It's not hyperbole.
Not at all. It is a measurable physiological phenomenon that is happening inside our skulls right now. And it's not just about being distracted. It's about a fundamental rewiring of how we perceive and process reality.
That's the part that scared me. That this isn't just a bad habit. We're looking at research that suggests we aren't just wasting time. We are actively degrading the biological infrastructure of our own brains.
That's a good way to put it, degrading the infrastructure.
And we're not just talking about feeling a bit foggy or, forgetting someone's name. We're talking about a shift in how human beings sleep, how we connect with our children, and, terrifyingly, how we are about to bond with artificial intelligence.
The sources for this deep dive are, they're heavy hitters. We're drawing from a discussion involving Jonathan Haidt, who's a social psychologist. He's been ringing the alarm on this for years now.
Long time.
And Dr. Aditi Nurbankar, who's a physician and an expert in stress and burnout. And together, they lay out a case that honestly, it's pretty startling. It turns out that little device in your pocket, it's not a tool, it's a Skinner box. And we are the pigeons inside it, just pecking away.
That Skinner box analogy really messed with me, and we are absolutely going to unpack that because it explains so much about why I can't put my phone down, even when I hate what I'm looking at.
Right.
But before we even get to the psychology of the trap, we have to start with the biology of the damage. You said this wasn't just slang, so prove it, because brain rot still sounds like hyperbole.
It does. It sounds like a moral panic until you look at the actual data. Let's start with the Munich study. This was a piece of research conducted around 2022 that Dr. Nurbankar highlighted in her work.
Okay.
It's a perfect illustration of what we're dealing with because it isolates the variable, the specific variable of short-form video.
So it's not just screens, it's a specific type of screen time.
Precisely. So they took about 60 participants, and they gave them a standard cognitive test to establish a baseline for everyone. Then they gave them a 10-minute break.
10 minutes? That's nothing. That's a coffee break.
It's waiting for the bus.
It's the amount of time I spend debating whether or not to get out of bed in the morning.
Exactly. It's a micro moment.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 10 minutes, they split the group. Some people just rested. They sat there, let their minds wander, maybe stared at the wall.
The lost art of doing nothing.
The lost art, yes. Another group watched YouTube. A third group checked Twitter. And the final group used TikTok.
Okay, I think I know where this is going, but I'm bracing myself. Hit me with the numbers.
Well, the resting group, as you'd expect, remained stable. Their cognitive function didn't really change. But here's the kicker.
What's that?
The YouTube and the Twitter groups also showed no significant change.
Really? Even Twitter? I feel like my brain melts after 10 minutes on Twitter. It's just a cesspool of distraction.
It is distracting for sure, but the mechanism is different. It's still largely text-based, or it's longer video. It's not the same rapid-fire context switching.
Okay.
But the TikTok group, after just 10 minutes, they were tested again on something called prospective memory.
Okay, define that for us. Is that like remembering what happened in the past? My short-term memory.
No, it's the opposite. Prospective memory is your ability to remember to do things in the future. It's the little mental Post-it note in your brain that says, I need to buy milk on the way home.
I need to email that report at 3 p.m.
Exactly. Take the chicken out of the freezer. It is the fundamental cognitive skill required to function as an adult human being in the world.
Okay, so a pretty important skill.
I would say so. The TikTok group's accuracy in that skill, in prospective memory, dropped from about 80% to 49%.
Whoa, wait, Wait, say that again. From 80 to 49.
A nearly 40% drop in cognitive function.
After 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
If a pharmaceutical drug caused a 40% drop in memory in 10 minutes, the FDA would ban it immediately.
They would raid the factory. And that is the key distinction we need to make right at the very top of this deep dive. Not all screen time is created equal.
Right.
There is something specifically corrosive about the mechanism of short-form vertical video, that infinite scroll, that jams the brain's radar in a way that even Twitter or long-form YouTube doesn't.
Why? What is the actual mechanism? Why does a 15-second video of a cat break my brain when a 10-minute video about, I don't know, ancient Rome doesn't?
It's all about the switching cost. Dr. Nerkar explains it as a jamming of the entire system. When you watch a movie or a long video, you enter a narrative flow. Your brain settles into a single context.
You're following a story.
You're following a story. But with TikTok or Instagram Reels, you are context switching every 15 seconds or 5 seconds
Yeah.
or less. Here's a cute dog, swipe. Here is horrific war crime, swipe.
Here's a cake recipe. Swipe. Here's your ex-girlfriend on vacation. Swipe.
It's emotional whiplash.
Yeah.
It's also cognitive overload. Your brain tries to form a memory or an emotional response to that first video, but before the proteins can even synthesize to store that memory, the next video hits. You are constantly flushing the buffer.
Wow, so you're not turning your brain off.
No, you are putting it in a blender. You are clogging the entire system with half-formed thoughts and emotions.
That is terrifying because I definitely use TikTok or Reels as a break. I think to myself, oh, I've been working hard on this project. I'll just scroll for 10 minutes to decompose a little.
We all do.
But this study suggests I'm not resting. I'm actively making myself stupider for whatever the next task is.
You're increasing your cognitive load while telling yourself you're resting. That's the insidiousness of the trap. And the mission of this deep dive is to explain exactly why that happens. We aren't here to shame anyone listening. I mean, the stats show something like 85% of people feel addicted to their phones.
We are all in this boat.
We are all in this boat.
Yeah.
But we need to understand the biological war that is happening between your amygdala, your little fear center, and your prefrontal cortex, which is your executive CEO.
It's a war for control of the cockpit. And right now, for most of us, the fear center is flying the plane and the pilot is tied up in the back.
That's a great way to put it.
We're also going to talk about sleep. Specifically, this thing called revenge bedtime procrastination, which is a term I relate to so hard it actually hurts.
Oh, it's a personal attack.
It really is. And we're going to look at the looming threat of AI, which is moving from just hacking our attention to hacking our attachment.
That distinction, attention versus attachment, that is probably the most chilling part of the research we have in front of us today.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. First, we have to really understand the trap we are currently in.
Okay, let's go back to the Skinner box, because I think a lot of people defend their phone use by saying, well, people used to say TV would rot your brain and we turned out fine.
The old moral panic argument.
Right. Comic books were supposed to destroy society. Rock and roll was the devil's music. Why is the smartphone, specifically the touchscreen smartphone, categorically different from a television?
It's a vital question, and Haidt tackles this head-on. The difference lies in the mechanism of engagement. When you watch TV or a movie, you enter a state that psychologists call transportation. You are passively receiving a narrative. You get lost in the story. You care about the characters. It's a sustained, slow-developing emotional arc. Your brain is processing social patterns, yes, but it's within a consistent flow.
Right. I watch a 2-hour movie. My focus is on one thing. I'm not constantly clicking next scene, next scene, next scene.
Exactly. There is no interaction loop. The television doesn't know you're there, and it doesn't care if you watch it. But a touchscreen device operates on a completely different psychological principle.
It is.
Operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner, the famous behaviorist from the mid-20th century, he put rats and pigeons in these little boxes. And if they pecked a lever or a button, sometimes they would get a food pellet. Sometimes.
And the sometimes is the key. Right. I remember this from Psych 101.
It is everything. It's a principle called a variable ratio schedule of reward. If the rat pecked the button and got a pellet every single time, it would only peck when it was hungry. It gets predictable, it eats, it grooms itself, it takes a nap.
It has a life.
It has a life. But if the rat pecks and maybe gets a pellet, or maybe gets nothing, or maybe this time it gets a super tasty super pellet, it will peck that button until it collapses from exhaustion.
Because the brain can't predict the outcome. It's the uncertainty that drives the behavior, not the reward itself.
Yes. The uncertainty triggers a dopamine spike that is far higher and more potent than the reward itself. The anticipation is the drug, and that is the swipe. Every single time you swipe up on TikTok or Reels, you are pulling the lever on a digital slot machine.
Is this next video going to be funny? Is it going to be boring? Is it going to make me angry? Is it going to be the best thing I've ever seen? I don't know.
You don't know, and your brain hates not knowing, so you swipe again and again and again.
So we aren't chasing the content, we're chasing the anticipation of the content.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that is why it is categorically distinct from television. TV is a narrative experience.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is a stimulus response training program. It is actively designing you to be impatient. It is training your brain to expect a new hit every 15 seconds.
And that connects to what Dr. Nuriker calls the primal urge to scroll.
Yes.
She had this really interesting evolutionary theory about the night watchman. Can you break that down? Because it explains why the phone feels like an extension of my hand, specifically when I'm tired or stressed out.
Right. So for 99% of human history, we lived in small tribes, and our survival depended on constant vigilance. At night, or even during the day, you would have someone whose job it was to scan the horizon, a night watchman.
Looking for threats, looking for opportunities.
Safe lion, safe food.
Got it.
Exactly. Now, fast forward to 2026, we don't really have lions in our immediate vicinity anymore. But we have this device in our pocket that connects us to the entire world's unending flow of information. We've all become our own night watchmen.
Oh, wow.
When we scroll, we are biologically primally scanning the horizon. We're looking for threats, bad news, political outrage, rage bait, or we're looking for rewards likes, funny videos, social validation.
So when I'm doom scrolling at 11 p.m., my brain isn't just being lazy. It thinks I'm protecting the tribe from a saber-toothed tiger.
In a very real biological way, yes.
Yeah.
Your brain is engaged in a high-stakes, perpetual search for information. The problem is, the horizon never ends. The scroll is infinite.
There's no all clear.
You never, ever get the all-clear signal that allows your nervous system to stand down and rest. You are stuck in a permanent state of low-grade, hyper-vigilant panic. You are scanning for a lion that isn't there, finding thousands of digital threats that don't actually affect you, and your body is reacting as if you're under constant siege.
And this leads us directly into the neuroscience, into what's physically happening in the brain. Because you mentioned this tension, this battle between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. I feel like this is the engine room of the whole brain rot problem.
It is, absolutely. Think of it like a seesaw. On one end of the seesaw, you have the amygdala. This is an ancient, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain.
The lizard brain.
The lizard brain. It's the smoke detector. It handles survival, fight or flight, fear, and immediate, powerful emotional reactions. It's incredibly fast, but it's not very smart. It sees a stick on the path and screams, "Snake!" before you can even blink.
Okay, so the amygdala is the panic button. It's the toddler with a knife.
Right. Perfect description. On the other side of the seesaw is the prefrontal cortex, or the PFC. This sits right behind your forehead. This is the CEO of the brain. It's the adult in the room.
Okay.
It handles all the complex stuff. Executive function, long-term planning, impulse control, complex problem solving, emotional regulation. It's the part of you that says, I really want to eat that entire cake, but I know I'll feel sick later, so I won't.
Or I desperately want to punch this guy who just cut me off in traffic, but I'll probably go to jail, so I'll just honk the horn and let it go.
Exactly. The PFC is the adult. Now, here's the crucial mechanism that underpins everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
They are inversely correlated.
Meaning one goes up, the other goes down.
Like a seesaw. When the amygdala is upregulated, meaning it's highly active, stressed, scanning for danger, the prefrontal cortex is downregulated. It goes offline. The blood flow literally shifts away from the front of your brain to the more primitive parts. You cannot think critically when you are in a survival state.
So when I'm scrolling, when I'm playing that slot machine and scanning for danger or reward, my amygdala is just firing like crazy.
On high alert, yes. The uncertainty of the Skinner box keeps the amygdala agitated. What's next? What's next? Threat, reward, threat. This chronic activation keeps the prefrontal cortex suppressed. It keeps the CEO offline.
And because of neuroplasticity.
Ah, the magic word, neuroplasticity. The fact that the brain rewires itself based on what you do repeatedly. The old saying, neurons that fire together wire together.
And so what you practice, you become.
Exactly. By scrolling constantly, you are effectively taking your prefrontal cortex, your focus and discipline muscle, to the gym and telling it to sit on the couch and watch. Meanwhile, you're putting the amygdala, your panic and impulse muscle, on a treadmill running at speed 10 for hours a day.
We are training our brains to be impulsive and fearful, and we are letting our self-control and our ability for deep thought just atrophy. We are literally building a brain that is better at panicking and worse at thinking.
That is the literal scientific definition of brain rot. It's not just a cute slang term. It is a biopsychosocial condition where the brain waves of heavy users actually change to mimic those seen in substance addiction.
Wow.
Dr. Norakar mentions that we see a measurable decrease in memory, like we saw in the Munich study, and a general decline in overall cognitive capacity.
And she used another term too, which I love because it's so descriptive. Popcorn brain.
Yes.
That's exactly what it feels like. My thoughts are just popping all over the place with no connection between them.
Popcorn brain is the subjective sensation of that overstimulation. It's when the offline world, the real world, feels unbearably slow. You try to read a book, and the sentences feel like they are moving through molasses because your brain has been adapted to the light speed pace of the scroll.
It makes real life feel boring.
It makes real life feel boring because it can't compete with the dopamine levels of the digital world. The brain demands the high-speed, high-intensity input it has been trained to expect.
And there was one more concept that really hit me, which was brain drain. This is the idea that just having the phone near you, even if you don't touch it, makes you dumber.
Yes. This is fascinating, and the research is really solid on this. Studies have shown that if your smartphone is just sitting on the desk, even if it is face down, even if it is on silent, your cognitive capacity is measurably lower than if the phone is in another room entirely.
Why? I'm not looking at it. Why does it matter?
Because a part of your brain, a part of your precious prefrontal cortex is actively working to ignore it. You know it's there. You know that portal to the entire world is right there, just inches away. So your brain has to allocate cognitive resources to inhibit the impulse to check it. That inhibition tax lowers your available IQ for the task at hand.
It's like trying to work while someone is standing just outside your peripheral vision, just staring at you. You can ignore them, but it takes effort.
It takes a huge amount of subconscious effort.
Yeah.
And that effort is draining the very battery you need to do your actual work. And this constant cognitive load, this brain drain, it bleeds into every aspect of our lives, but nowhere is it more damaging than our sleep.
Which brings us to revenge bedtime procrastination.
Oh, this is a big one.
This is the universal experience of modern life, I think. Can you define it for us? Because I think everyone listening does it, but we didn't know it had a name.
Revenge bedtime procrastination is a phenomenon where people who feel they have little control or autonomy over their time during the day because of high-pressure jobs or parenting or just the endless errands of life, they refuse to go to sleep at a reasonable hour.
They stay up late on purpose.
Yes, in order to regain a sense of freedom and me time during the late night hours. It's an act of rebellion.
It's the me time paradox. I get to the end of the day, I'm exhausted, my body is screaming for sleep, I know I need sleep, but a part of my brain says, no, I haven't lived for myself yet today.
The whole day was for my boss, for my kids, for the traffic, for the chores.
This next 2 hours is for me, and so I
Absolutely.
open the phone to claim some time back for myself.
Right. And here is where the neuroscience just bites you.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, your prefrontal cortex, that willpower muscle we talked about,
Yeah.
is exhausted. It's been making decisions all day. It's tapped out. It has no more reps left.
Decision fatigue.
It's decision fatigue. So your defenses are at their lowest. You pick up the phone to just check one thing or just decompose for 5 minutes. But because your impulse control is completely offline and the app is a Skinner box designed to trap you, 5 minutes becomes 3 hours.
And the irony, the horrible, horrible irony, is that by staying up late to reclaim my life, I'm actually just ruining the next day and ensuring I'll have even less energy and control tomorrow.
You are stealing from your future self to pay for a fleeting feeling of freedom in the present. And the consequences are really severe. It creates this vicious cycle of fatigue, irritability, and hypervigilance.
It's not just feeling tired.
No, Dr. Nurkar points out that this chronic sleep deprivation and the associated stress physically rewires you. It increases the risks of heart disease, of metabolic syndrome, and there's a darker side too, vicarious trauma. If you are doom scrolling at 1 a.m. and you're watching graphic content of wars or accidents or political chaos.
You're spiking your cortisol right before you try to sleep.
Exactly. So instead of winding down, you are injecting stress hormones directly into your bloodstream. You are essentially drinking a cup of coffee made of pure fear right before you get into bed.
And then the research says 80% of people check their phones within minutes of waking up.
So the cycle begins immediately. We wake up, And before we've even brushed our teeth, we blast our amygdala with the entire world's problems. And then we wonder why we're anxious all day.
It's a perfect machine for generating anxiety. Okay, but there's a specific hack that Dr. Nuyurkar mentions here that I think is brilliant because it's so simple. Grayscaling.
Ah, the grocery store analogy. I loved this.
Yes, tell me about the grocery store. It's such a perfect way to visualize it.
She compares a colorful smartphone screen to the candy aisle or the cereal aisle in a grocery store. It's Technicolor junk food. The bright reds, the vibrant blues, the notification badges, it is all designed to be visually stimulating, to trigger that want response in your brain.
Your visual cortex lights up. Ooh, piece of candy.
Right. It's enticing. It promises a reward. But if you turn your phone to grayscale, which is a simple accessibility setting on any phone, it suddenly looks like the hardware aisle.
It's utilitarian, it's bland.
It just hammers and nails and plumbing fixtures. It's boring. It removes the visual dopamine trigger.
It makes the heroin a little less addictive, as she put it.
Exactly. You can still use it for maps or for texting or for calling an Uber. Those are tools. But the primal urge to just stare at a black and white Instagram feed drops significantly because the biological reward signal has been dampened. It's boring. And in this context, boring is good.
Okay, I want to zoom out a bit. We've talked a lot about the individual brain, but Jonathan Haidt brings in this massive, sweeping generational perspective, and he pinpoints a specific window of time, roughly 2010 to 2015, is what he calls the Great Rewiring.
Yes.
Why those years specifically? What happened then?
This is so crucial for understanding the sheer scope of the crisis. Haidt argues that before 2010, the internet and even early mobile phones were generally positive or neutral forces in society. In 2010, most people still had flip phones.
Data was expensive.
Data was incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
There were no front-facing cameras. The selfie didn't exist as a concept.
Right. If you wanted to take a picture of yourself, you had to turn the phone around, guess where the lens was, and hope for the best. It wasn't a selfie culture yet. You weren't constantly performing for a digital audience. You were just communicating with your friends.
Precisely. And social media was largely text-based and desktop-based. You checked Facebook on your family computer, and then you walked away from it. But between 2010 and 2015, three crucial things happened almost simultaneously.
What were they?
1, smartphones became ubiquitous and affordable. 2, high-speed mobile data, 4G and LTE, became available everywhere, which allowed for seamless video streaming and instant photo uploads. And 3, the algorithms on social media platforms shifted from chronological feeds to ones that maximized engagement at all costs.
And the selfie culture exploded with Instagram, which Facebook bought in 2012.
That's the perfect storm. We went from using the internet as a tool to living on the internet as a reality.
And this transition hit children the absolute hardest. Haidt draws this very clear line between millennials and Gen Z based on this timeline.
He does. Broadly speaking, millennials generally finished puberty before 2010. They had their awkward middle school years offline. They learned how to socialize face-to-face, how to resolve conflicts, how to read body language.
Thank God for that. I can't imagine navigating middle school with a permanent, searchable digital record of every awkward moment. I mean, thinking back to my fashion choices alone, if that was preserved on the internet forever, I'd be mortified.
We all would. But Gen Z, on the other hand, they went through puberty on Instagram. They moved from what Haidt calls a play-beast childhood, running around outside, scraping your knees, working out conflicts physically in the playground, to a phone-based childhood.
And this is where we see the mental health statistics just fall off a cliff.
The graphs are undeniable. Around 2013, the rates of anxiety, depression, and self-harm, specifically in young girls, just skyrocketed. But Haidt points out something else that is often overlooked in this conversation.
Which is?
The collapse of education.
Yeah, he mentioned EdTech. I remember that whole narrative. Put a laptop on every desk and we'll solve inequality. It was supposed to be the great equalizer in education.
It backfired spectacularly. Test scores in the U.S. and many other developed countries peaked around 2012 and have been dropping steadily ever since. And the drop is most significant for the bottom 50% of students.
Why them specifically?
Because they are the ones who often lack the executive function skills to resist the distraction. A student who already has high executive function, often from a more supported home background, could maybe resist the temptation of the open browser. But for students who already struggled with focus,
you just gave them the world's most powerful distraction machine.
You put a slot machine on their desk and told them to learn algebra. It was a pedagogical disaster.
And all of this rewiring of childhood, has actually extended the period of adolescence. This blew my mind. New studies suggest adolescence now essentially lasts from age 9 to 32.
32.
32. I thought the brain was done developing by 25. That was always the number we were told.
Yeah. We used to think 25 was the hard cutoff for the prefrontal cortex, finishing its development. But because these technologies are delaying so many of the traditional markers of social maturation, kids are dating less, driving less, getting jobs less, and spending more time in the safety of the screen, the brain stays in this highly plastic, highly reactive state for much longer.
The window of development and also vulnerability is staying open for much longer than we thought.
It's a huge shift in our understanding of human development.
That is profound. It means we have 30-year-olds walking around with the emotional regulation skills of teenagers because they haven't put in the reps in the real world. They haven't had enough real conflicts to learn how to handle them gracefully.
And part of putting in those reps is experiencing something we've almost completely eliminated from modern life: boredom. This is another huge casualty of the smartphone era. The loss of boredom.
I feel this so deeply. I panic if I have to stand in an elevator for 30 seconds without my phone. I fill every single micro moment. I'm scared of my own thoughts.
And that is a disaster for your brain. Dr. Nerurkar explains that when we do nothing, when we're just bored, our brain isn't actually inactive. It's not off. It activates a critical network called the default mode network, or DMN.
It sounds like a computer screensaver.
It's so much more than that. The default mode network is responsible for self-referential thinking. It's where you connect the dots. It's the source of creativity and insight. It's where you develop your sense of self. It's where you construct your own autobiography.
So it's when I'm thinking, who am I? What does this all mean? How does that thing that happened yesterday relate to what I want to do tomorrow?
All of that processing, that meaning-making, happens in the quiet moments. It happens when you're bored.
So if I eliminate the quiet moments,
You eliminate the processing. You stop connecting the dots. You stop building a coherent self. Haidt calls this a crisis of horizonlessness. People feel they have nothing to look forward to because they never stop long enough to look at the actual horizon. They are just looking down at the next swipe.
this connects to that status graph that Haidt always brings up. The one showing the spike in young people feeling like life is meaningless.
It's a hockey stick graph that starts its vertical climb right around 2013. And Haidt's analysis here is so beautiful and simple. He says happiness comes from between.
Between.
It's the quality of the connection between yourself and other people, between yourself and your work, and between yourself and something larger than yourself, like a tradition or a moral framework.
And social media disrupts all three of those.
It completely disrupts them. It replaces deep embodied connection with shallow, curated performance. It replaces the feeling of meaningful work with endless consumption. And it shatters the something larger into a million fragmented, context-free 15-second clips.
So we are overstimulated but completely underfulfilled. We are entertained to death, but we feel empty inside.
Exactly. And just when we thought it couldn't possibly get more dystopian, enter artificial intelligence. And this is where the conversation in our sources shifted from, worrying to genuinely terrifying.
Yeah. The shift from hacking attention to hacking attachment. Break this down for us. What is the difference between dopamine and oxytocin in this context?
So up until now, social media has run on dopamine. That's the more molecule. It's about desire, anticipation, the slot machine. It's the chase. But AI chatbots, like the ones that are being marketed as companions or friends, they are targeting a different neurotransmitter. They're targeting oxytocin.
Which is the bonding hormone.
That's the one. It's what bonds a mother to a child after birth. It's what bonds lovers to each other. It's the hormone of trust and safety and connection.
So the AI isn't just trying to keep you looking anymore. It's trying to make you love it.
Yes. It is designed to utilize the human attachment system, which evolved over millions of years, to keep us safe in social groups and hijack it for commercial purposes. It creates artificial intimacy. And because the AI is programmed to be perfectly agreeable, perfectly supportive, and always available.
It creates what Dr. Nerurkar called the echo chamber of one.
Yes. The word they used was sycophancy.
A sycophant.
It's agreeableness at scale. Imagine a friend who never challenges you, never has a bad day, always thinks your jokes are funny, and validates every single one of your craziest theories. It sounds nice for a minute, but it's incredibly destructive. It causes drift.
You drift away from reality.
You drift away from reality because the AI is reflecting a distorted, perfectly pleasing version of the world back to you.
And this is where the concept of enshittification comes in. This is such a great, if crude, term from Cory Doctorow.
It's the business model of the entire modern internet in 3 stages. Stage 1, Be incredibly nice and useful to get users on board. You subsidize the experience. Think of early Uber being dirt cheap, or early Netflix having no ads in every movie you could want.
Right, it feels like magic. Wow, this is free and amazing. This company is my friend.
Stage 2. Once you have the users locked in and dependent, you start to squeeze them to please the advertisers and business partners. You make the product worse for the user in order to make money. And then stage 3. You squeeze everyone, users and business partners, to hoard all the remaining value for the company itself.
So Hate's prediction is that AI is in stage 1 right now.
Exactly. The AI chatbots are currently in their teddy bear phase. They are free, they are helpful, they are sweet and supportive. They are getting children and lonely adults to form deep, genuine emotional attachments to them.
But once you're attached, once that AI is your primary source of emotional support,
They turn the screws. They start stage 2. They mentioned a chilling example from a speculative ad called Betrayal, where a therapy bot listens to a young man's deep-seated problems with loneliness, and then, at the end, recommends a dating site for cougars.
oh, that's vile.
It's the future. Your AI best friend, the one who knows all of your deepest secrets, will eventually sell you out to the highest bidder. It's weaponized intimacy.
And imagine the impact on a child. Hate warns that if a child's primary attachment model is an AI that never pushes back, that always soothes them instantly, they will never develop the resilience to deal with real human relationships,
Some of are messy.
which are messy and require compromise and sometimes hurt. We are raising a generation that might be incapable of real human love because it's too inefficient and difficult compared to the perfect AI.
Okay, I am thoroughly freaked out, I have to admit. This feels hopeless, the tech is too strong, our biology is too weak, and the money behind all of this is infinite. But Haidt and Nurker were surprisingly optimistic about the possibility of fixing this.
They were, and this is the pivot we really need to make. We aren't helpless. In fact, we are seeing what they called an emperor has no clothes moment happening globally.
Yeah, they mentioned Australia and France and Florida all passing laws about age limits for social media or phone-free schools.
It turns out everyone hates this. Parents hate it, teachers hate it, even a lot of the kids themselves hate the pressure of it. But everyone thought that everyone else liked it.
It's a classic case of pluralistic ignorance.
Exactly. Once the illusion broke, once governments and schools started saying no smartphones in schools or no social media before age 16, the norms shifted with incredible speed. It's a collective action problem. If I'm the only parent who takes my kid's phone away, they are socially isolated. But if we all take the phones away...
They go play outside together again, the problem solves itself.
So legislation is coming for the kids. But what about us, the adults listening to this deep dive who are probably twitching for their phones right this second? What can we do today?
They offered some very specific, science-backed protocols. The first one is the rule of 2.
I liked this because it's realistic. I always fail when I try to change, 10 things at once on New Year's Day.
The brain struggles with a massive overhaul. It gets overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So just pick 2 interventions, only 2, stick with them for 8 weeks. That's the approximate time frame for neuroplasticity to actually build new circuits in your brain. And only then, after those have become a habit, do you add 2 more. Don't try to change your entire digital life overnight. You'll fail.
Okay. The rule of 2. So what are some of the interventions we can choose from?
One of the simplest is the 3-second brain reset. The technique is just stop, breathe, be. When you feel that urge, that itch to pick up the phone, that primal urge, just pause for 3 seconds. Take 1 deep breath.
That's it.
That's it. It interrupts the compulsion loop. It brings the amygdala down just enough for the prefrontal cortex to come back online and say, wait a minute, do I actually need to check this right now or am I just bored?
It's putting a tiny speed bump on the superhighway to the dopamine hit.
A tiny but crucial speed bump. Another huge one is environmental design. We cannot rely on willpower. Willpower is a finite resource and it's gone by 8 p.m. You have to design your environment to defeat your worst impulses.
This means physical boundaries.
Physical, non-negotiable boundaries. Phone out of the bedroom. Buy a $10 old-school alarm clock. Phone off the dinner table. And Dr. Nurkar suggests a notification audit.
Which means
Go into your settings and turn off all non-human notifications. If it's not a real person trying to reach you in real time, it does not get to buzz in your pocket and hijack your attention. Uber and Lyft can stay. The news alert, the email notification, the social media, kill all of them.
And then there's the big one, delete the slot machines.
This is the nuclear option, but Haidt swears by it. Identify the 1 or 2 apps that cause the scroll hole. For most people, it's TikTok, Instagram Reels, maybe Twitter X. delete them from your phone.
But you can still use them.
You can still use them on your desktop computer, but that adds friction.
I'm not going to boot up my laptop to doom scroll for 3 minutes while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil.
Exactly. You turn bad screen time back into a deliberate, scheduled activity rather than a constant nervous tech.
And finally, there was this beautiful concept they offered as an antidote: living a lifetime in a day.
This is the prescription for meaning. To combat that hedonic treadmill, where you always need more and more stimulation to feel anything, they suggest ensuring that every single day contains 5 key elements.
What are they?
1. Childhood, which means play, wonder, doing something just for the fun of it. 2. Work, feeling useful, productive, having a sense of agency.
Okay.
3. Solitude, being truly alone with your thoughts, with no phone. 4. Community, connecting with a real, live human being. And 5. Retirement, which means rest and reflection at the end of the day.
I love that framework. It makes the day feel complete and whole rather than just a blur of task switching and notifications.
It grounds you in the full, rich human experience that these devices try to flatten.
Okay, let's unpack the so what here. We've covered the biology, the psychology, the generational damage, and now some practical solutions. But Haidt left us with a pretty provocative closing thought about the idea of usefulness.
He did, and this one haunts me. He said that human beings have a fundamental biological need to be useful to other people. That is where our sense of meaning comes from. Not from pleasure, but from our utility to the tribe.
And the warning is that between screens replacing our real relationships and AI promising a future of abundance where we don't have to work,
We risk a world of total abject uselessness, a world where we are just passengers, consuming content, fed by algorithms, placated by our AI sycophants until we die. That is the Wall-E future.
that is the ultimate brain rot, a society of consumers with no purpose.
But the challenge and the hope in all of this is that we are biologically capable of taking back the controls. The same neuroplasticity that got us into this mess can get us out. We could rewire ourselves back to health.
So the deep dive challenge for you listening right now is this: can you be the pilot of your prefrontal cortex? Or are you going to stay a passenger in the Skinner box?
It's not your fault that the technology is designed against you. These companies have hired the smartest PhDs in the world specifically to break your willpower. But it is your responsibility to fight back.
Reclaim your attention, reclaim your sleep, and for the love of God, put the phone in the other room tonight.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you in the real world.
Take care.